What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trade and Decoded. It is, what are we in? September, October. October? Yes, October 14th, 2024. And it is 4:01 in the afternoon. The market is closed. Today threw me off at the open, which is ironic because I was telling everybody not to do exactly what I did. And we're going to talk about it in the morning. So, everything in the top 10 was green this morning into the open, and it was a bank holiday. So I think I, in my own mindset, started off on the wrong foot. I thought today was going to be a low volume, slow moving day. It was not that, especially in the beginning of the day. And I think I had a put bias today. Now, with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to launch a chart and we're going to see what I was talking about. Okay. Our put line was 581.05. Okay. Now, by default, I have a hard time personally. This is a me problem. It's not me understanding the charts. And yes, I know it could always go higher and blah, 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 blah. I just have a very difficult time buying all-time highs, especially aggressively at the open. Leading into the open this morning, even before the open, I told everybody, guys, the market is extremely happy. Everything is green. We should be looking for reasons to take calls, not tell ourselves it's opening at all-time highs. We should take puts. I didn't follow my own advice. Okay. Our put line is at 581.05. Told everybody if we get through that line, we'd be hoping to make it at least to the first line, but that's not going to be enough to pay us, maybe to the second line. Okay. That happened. The problem is it happened extremely fast. And I didn't get into the trade until it bounced off this line, pulled back, and then started to try and push down again. I got in for one reason and one reason only. Two reasons, actually. Number one, Qs were opening coming off of lower highs. Okay, so we knew Qs had support here. If we got below that support, I did believe we were going to make it as far down as this one here at 495.34. We did not get there, as you can see. Not only that, but ADD was printing big red candles. So my thought process was, and you guys know this by now about me, I don't like to trade against the Qs, okay? I don't like to trade against the Qs. I gotta find where we're supposed to be here. Hold on a second. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Let's get my charts back in visual reference here. Okay. I was, where are we at here? Sorry, I'm all over the place today, guys. I was looking at the Qs coming off of lower highs. I was looking for a quick counter trend trade from support A down to support B, right? I was hoping that if we broke this support here, we would move down to the next support. We briefly and quickly pushed down on the Qs. I had puts ready because the Qs were putting in lower highs. ADD was selling off aggressively for the first 3 minutes. I thought Qs were going to catch up. They did not. I had 1 minute to get out of this trade with some profit. I didn't because I was ignoring the Qs like I never do, and I suggest other people don't. But I was hoping that ADD was going to be my saving grace. It was not. Got into this trade, ended up stopping out of the trade at 932 with a $900 loss. So I went against my own plan, which was to be patient, wait for a good setup, and don't look for puts. I did everything wrong, and I paid for it. With that said, we were talking about this also. Somebody asked me, Jimmy, well, why did you determine to get into calls when you did? And this is the type of thing that we talk about all the time, okay? Number one, all these lines above the pink one here on the SPY were lines. These are not levels of support and resistance that we knew existed. These lines are all here. I drew these lines at 8:30 this morning, an hour before the market opened. And every one of these dashed lines is numbers that so this up here was a pivot point, and everything in between were numbers I used using different types of charting and tools. I'm blown away by this. So again, we are at all-time highs. Everything that we printed today was all-time highs until we started to pull back a little bit later in the day. We have no evidence that these levels are going to hold the support and resistance, but look at what they did. I was amazed today. Now, usually I trust wholeheartedly in support and resistance because they're proven levels. None of these are proven levels. They are now, but pretty wild that these levels held as support and or resistance throughout the entire day. I mean, look at where I had my high a day line. All the way up here at 584.10. Ultimately, we did get through it, turned it into support, and retraced back to it to close. But pretty wild. I stopped drawing lines up here just because, quite honestly, I didn't think we were going to get anywhere near this, and we did. But the reason I got into calls, having lost on puts, technically, because the first place on the cues, if you're paying attention to the cues, that we would have had enough room to make money is above 496.39, right? We would have normally said, hey, if we can break pre-market high, we would aim for the next resistance. Well, the next resistance is right here. And then the one above that's not even 20 cents away right here. So naturally, we got to wait for a close above that resistance because it's the first one that would have provided us enough room to make money. Okay. At the same time, ADD at the moment had started looking like it was making an attempt to recover from the big three green or big red candles that it printed then. And then there's something else I want to show you guys. NVIDIA, which I usually don't use as an indicator to do things, was on a rocket ship in the morning and it was dragging Qs up. So once I looked at NVIDIA going up, ADD seemingly looking like it was trying to recover, and Qs on a rocket ship to the upside. Once we closed above resistance on the Qs, that was my entry for calls on SPY, okay? So was down 900 bucks, got into the trade here, should have gotten out of the trade when the Qs got here. I didn't because I wasn't green enough yet. Wrong reason. Held through this, was red again. Hoped that we would continue our move up because ADD and everything else was telling me there's a chance. And then it ended up working out to where we were able to get all the way up to the Q's actual line of resistance. This was a line of resistance on the Q's from previous trading days. This one here was as well. This level right here is a 50% retracement. If I have a dollar range or more between two lines of support and resistance, I will chart the halfway spot between those two lines because very often that level, the 50% retracement level, holds as support and or resistance. You could see it play out all day long. This line right here, drawn an hour before the market opened, halfway point, resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance, resistance, support. You can watch it happen all day long, guys, okay? If you learn anything from me, pick up on my charting habits. They work well. Price action, that's a different beast, okay? That's a different beast. But with that said, we made it to, and once we got higher and higher and higher, and we tried to stay in this, I got out here because SPY hit the line. I drew this line and I told everybody there's no way we're going to make there today. Well, once we got there today, I took myself out of the trade. That ended up being like just over a 66% win. Got stopped out of the trade because I was trailing my stop on this candle right here. Okay, so when we got here, I implemented a hard stop. It pulled back enough to stop me out. In that point, I had 66%. At its best, it was probably 75%, maybe 80% up. But I had turned my red day green, and I was willing to accept that, whatever it may be. So that ended up being the case. It took two trades today. First one was a losing trade due to my aggression, a put bias, and this, that, and the other thing. The second trade, because everything looked good to the upside, and it worked out. All right. Each one of these circles here are levels of resistance that we hit on the Qs on our way up. Okay. And then as we hit them, I tell everybody, guys, just move your stops into profit. If it pulls back and stops you out, no problem. You made money. If it keeps going, you keep making money. Okay. After that, we're up here just kind of tooling around, right? Around 10 o'clock is when we hit the futures line here. We hit Qs, hit their another line of resistance, and then started to pull back. Today got very uncomfortable. for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. Now, once we recognize the cues starting to pull back, lower highs, lower lows, okay, we recognize this, and we're moving down. Now, naturally, because everything was looking pretty green, all things considered, I was being asked, Jimmy, when is the next opportunity to buy calls or puts? I said, well, because the cues are putting in lower highs, I wouldn't be looking for calls, I'd be looking for puts. And once we had made it all the way down to here, breaking several levels of support, I said, right around this point, right around bouncing off here, I said, guys, if you're looking for a reason for puts, we're hoping to pull back to 497. It's a whole number and it's old support. To look for that to be resistance, that would be a good entry for a pullback, so long as ADD is moving down with us. Cues are not, I'm sorry, the cues were what we were watching. And SPY is seemingly pulling back to a level of resistance, which it was. We're hoping that that's a good thing, right? Lower high, lower high, lower high. We're hoping not only for it to break this support, but if you're conservative, you wait for the close or the break. This is not supposed to be there. It should be here. The break of this support, and you're hoping that it goes down to the next support, which was this line right here, which we called it out before it all happened. This was a pullback to resistance on both charts. I tell you guys all the time, if they both pull back and they're both in a downtrend to a level of actual resistance at the same time, those are your best odds for entry. Lower highs puts more pressure on support. We broke support just like we expected it would. Now, if you look left, we weren't looking at these lines for support. Nope, we were looking for this one, because that is the next level of support during this move up. There was no attempt to move lower up in this move until here. So we said, hey, if we can get through this support level here, we should expect it to come down to at least this level of support. Guys, it did exactly that. They caught the entire move. I didn't take this trade. They caught the entire move from here all the way down to that exact support. It did go a little bit lower than that, but not much. Okay? So that was the second set of trades we talked about. After that, it got uncomfortable. The chart started to be a little bit whipsawy. We got flattened out quite a bit later in the day, and I don't trade this late in the day anyway. So I did have a bunch of people inventing some head and shoulder patterns at some point here. For those of you, you know who you are, my diehard put fans. I hope you didn't get caught up in this, because you either lost to theta or you lost to the fact that it never came back down, even though you thought it was gonna. I'm telling you guys, remember these 1-2 rules, because it was around this time that they were wanting to play puts. I said, guys, that's a higher low. I wouldn't be looking for puts. And then they said, whoa, Jimmy, that's a lower high. Okay, now it's a wedge. You shouldn't get into anything. Make sure you wait for the wedge to break one way or the other. Okay? Well, which way did that wedge break? So higher lows, bad for puts. Lower highs, bad for calls. Our two criteria are wait for the wedge break and wait for a break above the most recent resistance outside of the wedge. That gets you in here. Then you'd be looking to your left for the next resistance. And that all worked out. Okay? Not comfortably. This thing started trading sideways. It was a disaster later in the day. But nonetheless, I hope you stayed out of puts, because the market wasn't saying puts. I took puts early in the morning when I thought I stood a chance. I had the opportunity to get out with some profit. I didn't, because I wanted more, and it cost me $900. It was not fun, right? And then I turned it around, paid attention to the cues, paid attention to NVIDIA, paid attention to the fact that SPY was struggling to move lower, and got into the trade, okay? Then we chopped sideways, slowly made our way up, even though this move is going up. If you got into it late, theta hurts. This pullback, if you got in here and you didn't sell here, this pullback here crushed it for you. You probably would have barely got back to break even by the time you made it all the way up here if you held those calls. Okay, late day moves against you especially are catastrophic. They don't feel good. But with that, we're going to wrap it up. Tomorrow, we got a live charting session for my paying members. It's going to be a good one, because you get to see what and how I implement finding these levels at all-time highs where we don't have any proven levels above these. Okay. So if you're up and you're around, we do it at 8:30 Eastern in the morning, just like I do all my normal charting. So I hope to see you guys there. With that, I hope you found some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, there's links down below. We'd love to have you. Your first week is completely free. If you like what you get for that week, consider becoming a paying member. And that way you unlock all the benefits to becoming a paying member. And that's that. So I hope you all had a fantastic day today. And until tomorrow, I love you guys. See ya!